The first time the sky shimmered with silver cracks, no one believed it was real. It was too beautiful to be dangerous, too peaceful to be a warning. Children pointed at the glowing rifts, laughing as if the heavens had simply decided to show them a new kind of rainbow. But the scientists at the orbital watch station knew better. They could hear the frequencies like whispers clawing at the edge of sound. Captain Lira Hensley stood at the observation deck, eyes narrowed, jaw tight. "That's not natural refraction," she murmured. "It's a breach." No one wanted to use that word, breach. It carried too much history. Humanity had seen breaches before, tear-like openings in space-time where other civilizations had slipped through, some friendly, some not. The last one had nearly torn Mars's atmosphere apart a century ago, but humans survived that too. Humans always did. Down on Earth, the governments argued. Some said it was a phenomenon, others said it was an opportunity. But among all the chatter, a single encoded transmission was intercepted from the breach itself, an alien signal. Cold and structured, repeating a single line in multiple frequencies. "Humanity, do not interfere. This is your only warning." For 3 weeks the warning looped, and for 3 weeks humanity studied it, dissected it, ignored it. Dr. Aaron Vale, a linguist who had spent his life decoding lost transmissions, sat in the subterranean lab beneath Geneva, frowning at the screen. "It's too specific," he whispered. "They know who we are. They've studied us." Lira folded her arms beside him. "Or they think we scare easily." There was something about humans that other species never quite understood. It wasn't arrogance, it was curiosity weaponized. Every warning ever given to humanity had only led them to dig deeper, to learn faster, to push harder. When the universe said no, humans asked why not. The breach widened by the day. Through the silver shimmer, shapes moved, angular, luminous, organized, a fleet. Not ships like any known design, but structures that seemed to bend the laws of geometry itself. They pulsed with slow, deliberate motion, watching, waiting. The United Earth Council voted unanimously to send a delegation. "Send a message," said Lira. "Show them we come in peace." But peace was a fragile word. The fleet didn't respond. The signal changed instead, shifting in tone until the words grew clearer, almost urgent. "Do not provoke. You do not understand what waits beyond." On the 4th week, the breach stabilized. Humanity's best ships, sleek silver arrows powered by fusion hearts, took formation. Lira commanded the flagship Odyssey, her voice calm as the engines hummed through the void. Aaron joined her, clutching a tablet filled with linguistic mappings of the alien signal. As they approached the rift, the sensors spiked. Energy readings went off every scale known to human science. Aaron's voice trembled. "This isn't just a gate, it's containment. Something's trapped in there." Lira's gaze hardened. "Then why are they warning us?" Before anyone could answer, a new transmission cut through, deeper, almost human in cadence now. "You are not the first to touch the dark, but you will be the last." The breach pulsed violently. Alarms screamed across the fleet. The shimmering sky above Earth expanded, folding light into itself, and for the first time, the stars flickered, like something behind them had taken a breath. Down on Earth, people watched in silence as daylight dimmed. Children stopped laughing. The news anchors froze mid-sentence. The oceans responded first, waves rising as if drawn upward toward the fracture in the heavens. In the Odyssey, Lira steadied herself as the hull groaned. "Pull back," she shouted. But the fleet couldn't move. The gravity well had them locked. "Captain," Aaron cried. "It's not pulling us in, it's scanning." And then, for a single instant, every human mind across the planet felt it, an awareness vast and cold, brushing against their thoughts. It wasn't words, but meaning. Who dares to look into the dark must be ready for the dark to look back. When the rift finally quieted, half the stars in the night sky were gone. And yet, humanity did not retreat. They had seen the danger. They had heard the warnings. But something in them refused to yield, because deep down in every human heart, there was one truth that no alien mind could ever understand. Curiosity is our defiance. For 3 days after the breach dimmed, space itself felt quieter. No signals. No movement. No stars. The observatories called it the stillness. Across every hemisphere, telescopes that once danced with data now stared into a void that no longer answered back. The galaxies beyond seemed to have been veiled, as though someone had drawn curtains across the cosmos. On board the Odyssey, the crew moved like ghosts. The stars outside the viewport were faint, pale imitations of what they remembered. Captain Lira Hensley stood at the command deck, her reflection staring back at her from the dark glass, her eyes hollow but steady. "Status?" she asked quietly. Lieutenant Kale responded, voice low. "All systems operational. External sensors, null. Whatever's out there isn't emitting light or energy. It's like space stopped being space." Dr. Aaron Vale was hunched over his console again, replaying the last fragment of the alien transmission. "You are not the first to touch the dark, but you will be the last," he whispered to himself. It wasn't a threat. It was a prophecy. Lira turned. "Explain." Aaron rubbed his temples. "Those signals, they weren't meant for us originally. The cadence, the structure, it's like a recording. A warning left behind by something older. Maybe they found the darkness first. Maybe they didn't survive it." Outside, the stars flickered again. Just once. Enough to make every heartbeat quicken. Kale's voice rose, nervous. "Captain, object detected, dead center. Distance 3 million kilometers." Lira's breath caught. Visuals. The screen adjusted, and what appeared was wrong. It wasn't a ship, not even a structure. It was absent, shaped into form. A void so dense it bent light around it, leaving an outline like a wound in reality. "It's moving," Kale said, disbelief breaking into his tone. "No propulsion. It's just sliding through space. Toward us?" "Yes, Captain." Aaron stood. "That's the containment field they spoke about. The thing behind the breach, it's coming through." The silence that followed was suffocating. You could almost hear everyone thinking the same unspoken thought. We shouldn't have ignored the warning. Down on Earth, people started dreaming the same dream. Millions, all on the same night. A shape in the sky, black and infinite, stretching above cities, whispering in no language they could name. Entire neighborhoods woke screaming. Psychologists called it mass suggestion. Priests called it the soul recognizing the void. By dawn, every satellite orbiting Earth had gone offline. The orbital network simply stopped existing. One by one, their signals vanished without a trace, as if something had erased them, not destroyed them, just removed them from reality. On the Odyssey, Lira stared into the void entity's slow approach. "Weapons online," she ordered. Kyle hesitated. "Ma'am, we don't even know if—" "Do it!" The Odyssey's plasma batteries glowed white-hot and fired. The bolts disappeared before they even reached halfway. No explosion. No reaction. "Just quiet," Aaron whispered. "It's eating light. And maybe more than that." Then the creature, or whatever it was, sent out a pulse. Not energy, not sound. A feeling. Every member of the crew felt their thoughts blur. Their emotions scatter like papers in the wind. Lira's knees buckled as images filled her mind. Ruined worlds. Endless silence. Stars collapsing inward until only black remained. She gasped, clutching the console. "It's showing us," Aaron finished for her, voice trembling. "What happened to the others?" The pulse spread across the system. On Mars, cities flickered between night and day. On the Moon, glass domes cracked from vibrations that didn't exist. And on Earth, the oceans turned unnaturally still, as though waiting. Back aboard the Odyssey, the ship's AI stuttered. "Captain, I detect an anomalous pattern inside the void." "Coordinates." "Somerso 0. Lira looked up sharply. "The universal center." Aaron's eyes widened. "It's trying to reset the universe's coordinates. Erase the origin point. Then we stop it," Lira said firmly, even as her hands trembled. Her defiance lit a spark in the crew. Humanity had faced extinction before. They had stared down the impossible and refused to kneel. This would be no different, not while she breathed. Kale's voice steadied. "Captain, orders?" She drew herself up, spine straight, eyes blazing. "We find a way to talk to it." "Talk?" Aaron's voice cracked. "You think it can understand us?" Lira's answer was quiet but fierce. "Everything that warns once hoped to be heard." Outside, the void rippled as if it had heard her. The stars blinked again, 1, 2, 3, forming a pattern like an eye-opening. For the first time since the silence began, something spoke back. But it wasn't words this time. It was a feeling so vast and sorrowful it made every human aboard the Odyssey weep without knowing why. And as the blackness drew closer, Aaron whispered, "It's not angry. It's lonely." The crew froze. Lira's breath trembled. Then maybe, she said softly. That's how we reach it. The void paused. The universe held its breath. For the first time since the stars went silent, there was a heartbeat of hope. Silence had a sound now. It was the low, trembling hum that filled the bridge of the Odyssey. Like the universe itself was holding a breath it could not release. Captain Lira Hensley stood motionless before the viewport, her reflection ghostly in the black glass. The void loomed ahead, vast and shapeless, yet somehow, aware, it didn't move closer anymore. It just waited, as if giving them permission to speak first. Dr. Aaron Vale's fingers shook as he adjusted the signal interface. "Captain," he whispered. "Whatever this thing is, it doesn't communicate through sound or language. It uses emotion. Resonance. When it reached into our minds before, it wasn't trying to hurt us. It was showing us what it had seen." Lira nodded slowly. "Then maybe it's not an enemy. Maybe it's a survivor." Kyle glanced at her, nervous. "A survivor of what, ma'am?" "The same thing it's trying to warn us about." Aaron turned toward her, his eyes hollow with realization. The breach wasn't an invasion. It was containment. The fleet beyond it, the ones who sent the warnings, they were guarding this thing. The air thickened with understanding. Humanity hadn't provoked an army. They had freed a prisoner. Outside, the void rippled, and for a brief, blinding second, light returned to space. Not sunlight, not starlight, but the faint gold shimmer of memories. Cities, forests, oceans. Faces that weren't human but smiled like they understood joy. Then all of it faded again. Aaron pressed a trembling hand to his chest. "It's showing us its past." Lyra's eyes softened. "Show it ours," he blinked. "What?" "Show it what we are," she said, her voice firm. The laughter. The struggle. The fire in us that refuses to die. If it knows loneliness, maybe it can understand hope. Kyle hesitated, then nodded. "I can link the ship's archive to the transmission array. Send a data pulse directly into its field." "Do it," Lira said. The Odyssey's systems hummed as ancient songs. Images and voices were compiled. Footage of humanity's history. The first steps on the moon. The first fires on Earth. The first child born under artificial starlight on Mars. Lira watched as it streamed outward. A wave of light and memory aimed at the heart of the void. For a long, agonizing minute, nothing. Then, the void responded. The darkness began to swirl, folding into luminous tendrils, each pulsing with light as faint echoes of human voices whispered back through the comms. Laughter, tears, music. It was mimicking them. Aaron's throat tightened. "It's learning." But the joy was short-lived. The void suddenly convulsed, its tendrils spasming as if in pain. A deeper vibration rolled through space, shaking the ship. "Captain," Cale shouted. "There's another signal coming from beyond the void." On the monitors, new distortions appeared. Not like the first breach. These were jagged, violent. Something was tearing through. Lira gripped the railing. "Origin? Unknown. But it's directed at the void, like it's hunting it." The void pulsed again, this time sending a shockwave that hurled the Odyssey sideways. Systems flared red. Aaron clung to the console. "Captain, it's afraid." Lira froze. That single realization pierced through the chaos like lightning. Whatever this being was, it wasn't a destroyer, it was a fugitive. And something far worse was chasing it. The lights dimmed. The ship's AI flickered to life with a voice made of static. "Captain Hensley, I'm detecting a gravitational anomaly. The void's field is collapsing inward," Cale shouted. "It's trying to pull us in." "Hold position," Lira yelled. "Aaron, can you stabilize the comlink?" He was already working furiously, sweat running down his face. "If I can synchronize our neural scanners to the void's pulse, maybe we can talk to it directly." "Mind to mind." "That's suicide," Cale said. Lira looked at Aaron. "Do it." He met her gaze, fear in his eyes, but also something else. Faith. "You'll need to be linked too. It'll need an anchor." She didn't hesitate. "Then I'll be its anchor." Moments later, the chamber lights dimmed as the neural link engaged. Aaron and Lira stood inside the synchronization field, surrounded by swirling energy. A deep tone filled the room, low and endless. Then suddenly silence, and then Lira wasn't aboard the ship anymore. She was floating in a sea of stars. Or what remained of them. A voice, vast and sorrowful, echoed inside her mind. "You should not have come." Lira steadied herself. "We didn't come to fight. We came to understand. Understanding is pain. I was once light. I was once creation. Now I'm the remnant of what devoured me. Lira's heart pounded. The others warned us about you. No. They warned you about them. The ones that made me this. The stars flickered, revealing broken galaxies, empty shells. I am the echo of a universe they consumed. Lira felt tears in her eyes. Then help us stop them. The voice grew faint. They are already coming. Her eyes widened. Who? The void's reply came as a whisper that chilled her blood. The architects. The end of all things. And as the vision shattered around her, the stars screamed awake. The stars came back, but they did not belong to this universe anymore. Captain Lira Hensley gasped as the neural link disengaged. The chamber lights flared white, and she fell to her knees, trembling, the echo of that immense voice still whispering in her mind. Aaron knelt beside her, his face pale. Captain, he breathed. What did it say? She looked up slowly, eyes distant, haunted. It wasn't the enemy. The void was a survivor. A shield, Aaron frowned. A shield? Yes, she whispered. It was holding something back. Before she could say more, alarm screamed across the bridge. Kale's voice cracked over the comms. Multiple contacts. Origin unknown. They just appeared out of nothing. Lira stumbled to her feet and sprinted to the command deck. When the viewport cleared, every soul aboard the Odyssey forgot how to breathe. The stars had returned, but rearranged. Not random. Aligned, forming vast symmetrical grids across the sky. Between them, something enormous moved. Structures, black and radiant, shaped like spires of glass and bone. They stretched across light years, turning with impossible grace. Aaron whispered. Those aren't ships, Lira stared. No, they're machines. And then, as if hearing her, the void, the sentient darkness, shuddered. Its tendrils recoiled, trembling like a living creature in pain. Captain, Kale said, his voice almost a whisper. They're coming for it. The void's energy signature is collapsing. The Odyssey's sensors went wild. A beam of light, white so bright it carried no warmth, descended from one of the spires and struck the void. The sound that followed wasn't sound at all, but a vibration that rattled through bones, through hearts, through thought itself. The crew clutched their heads, crying out as images flashed in every mind simultaneously, worlds being unmade, stars turned into dust, civilizations burning with silent screams. The architects had arrived. Lira gripped the railing, voice trembling with both fear and awe. This is what it warned us about. Aaron stared at the display, tears in his eyes. They're rewriting space-time. That beam, it's not destroying matter, it's rewriting existence. They're erasing history itself. The void writhed, expanding outward in waves of darkness as if trying to resist. But each surge only made it smaller. It wasn't fighting, it was sacrificing itself. Kale's voice was shaky. Captain, it's moving toward us. What? The void. It's pulling the Odyssey inside. The hull groaned as gravity tore at them. Every control panel flared red. Aaron shouted, It's not attacking. It's protecting us. And then everything was light and motion, then stillness. When the brightness faded, the Odyssey was no longer where it had been. Outside the viewport stretched not space, but an ocean of colorless mist. The ship floated in silence. The stars were gone again. Kale whispered, Where are we? Aaron checked his readings, his voice shaking. This isn't a coordinate I recognize. It's not even measurable. I think we're inside the void. Lira turned toward the viewport, and there it was. The being, no longer infinite, now condensed into a vast sphere of dim light. It pulsed slowly, weakening. The comms flickered, and a voice like wind over glass filled the ship. I have given you refuge. My strength fades. Lira stepped closer. You saved us. No, I saved the memory of your kind. You were curious enough to free me, brave enough to listen. You must be the ones to stop what comes next. Aaron's eyes widened. But how? Those things, the architects, can bend reality. We're nothing compared to that. The void pulsed faintly. You are more. You are the spark they could never consume. The architects create. The architects erase. But you humans, you endure. Lira felt her heart race. You said they consumed your universe. Why? Because they seek perfection. They unmake everything imperfect. Every error, every flaw. They will come for you next. Lira's fists tightened. Then we'll fight. There was silence. Then a faint hum that almost sounded like laughter. Sad, weary laughter. And that is why you terrify them. Outside, the mist began to swirl faster. like a dying storm. The void's light dimmed further. The barrier weakens. I can send you back, but when you return, the architects will already have begun their harvest. You must find the key of origin. It is the only fragment of power they cannot touch. It exists in the heart of your own sun. Kale's eyes went wide. In the sun? That's impossible. It was hidden there long before your world was born. Lyra's voice steadied, full of that human defiance that had built empires out of dust. Then we'll find it, the void flickered. Go before I fade, remember. Light is born only when darkness dares to break. A surge of energy tore through the ship, and in a blinding flash of gold, the Odyssey was hurled through time and space, back into the universe that was no longer theirs. When the light cleared, the stars were bleeding. Great spires hung above Earth like black suns. The architects had already arrived. Lyra's voice was steady, quiet, unbroken. Prepare all channels. This is Captain Lira Hensley of the human ship Odyssey. To all surviving fleets. She looked out at the burning horizon of the world she loved. Humanity. It's time to make them understand what we're made of. Earth burned in silence. The architects' spires hung like obsidian sentinels above every continent. Their presence alone bent reality. Oceans stilled unnaturally. The air trembled, and the very spin of the planet seemed to hesitate under their gaze. Humanity's cities stood defiant but fragile, tiny flames against the cold geometry of annihilation. Captain Lira Hensley stood atop the partially collapsed ruins of Geneva's observatory. She watched as the horizon trembled with impossible shadows. Her crew had survived the journey back from the void, their eyes hollow, minds scarred, but unbroken. Dr. Aaron Vale knelt beside her, studying the remnants of the void's final message. The key of origin. It's not just a weapon. It's something alive, a fragment of creation itself. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Then it's also the only thing they fear. Cal, standing guard, whispered, but in the sun? Captain, that's a star. That's not even remotely survivable. She turned to him, voice sharp, burning with human resolve. Then we adapt. That's what humans do. We survive where no other species dares. We endure where others fail. We fight where others hide. Across Earth, humanity answered her unspoken call. Fleets of ships, remnants of space programs, private expeditions, and newly forged solar defenders converged at launch bays. Every scientist, every engineer, every fighter who could rise against the architects joined the effort. There was no time for fear. There was only action. The Odyssey led the fleet. Its hull bore the scars of the void's journey, but its spirit was unbroken. Lyra commanded from the bridge, her mind sharp, her heart steady. She remembered the void's words. Light is born only when darkness dares to break. They left Earth behind, moving toward the sun, the key's hidden cradle. The journey was perilous. The architects sensed them, and their influence warped space. Ships twisted in impossible arcs. Engines faltered against gravitational anomalies that should not have existed. Aaron worked tirelessly to translate fragments of ancient transmissions into a map. The key isn't physical, Captain, he said. It's encoded energy. A core embedded in the sun's magnetic heart. We can't just land. We have to become the key's conduit. How do we do that? Kyle asked, voice tight. Aaron swallowed hard. We synchronize. Each of us must link to the sun's energy. Our minds, our spirits, our will. We become the key long enough to extract it. Lyra's expression hardened. Then we'll do it, all of us. Humanity doesn't hide from impossible odds. We thrive in them. As they approached the sun, the fleet braced for the inferno. The sun's corona spat flames of charged plasma. Magnetic storms lashing like whips. The architect's distant gaze felt like pressure on the mind itself. Every human aboard felt it. A tug at their fear, their doubt, their weakness. But humanity would not bow. The Odyssey led the way, deploying specialized shields and neural conduits. Lyra, Aaron, and Kale entered the synchronization chamber, a complex matrix of energy links, neural stimulators, and resonance amplifiers. As the system activated, their minds stretched into the sun, feeling its living pulse, sensing its secret heart. It was overwhelming. Pure creation roared inside their thoughts, a symphony of energy that threatened to shatter their sanity. Lyra gritted her teeth. Focus on us. Focus on the key. Anchor yourself. They were the conduit. They became the key, a prism of living energy in human form, and in that moment the sun itself whispered back, You are worthy, but only if you dare more than fear. The architects responded instantly. Beams of distortion struck outward, black and white, folding light into non-existence, trying to sever the human connection. Ships in the fleet were ripped apart, vanishing in silence. But the Odyssey's shields, anchored by the minds of its crew, held firm. The sun's energy surged. Lira felt it course through her, through Aaron, through Kale, and into the neural lattice of every human willing to endure. The key had awakened, but it required one thing more. The architect's attention focused on a single point. Lyra's mind raced. They are drawing us, pulling us, testing us. We must make them see our courage, our humanity. Her voice, amplified through the fleet's comms, rang out. Humans endure. Humans rise! You will never erase what we are. Across light years, a ripple spread. The architects paused. For the first time, their perfect symmetry faltered. Their gaze, endless and terrifying, found the humans' defiance. The sun pulsed brighter. The key responded. It was no longer a secret of the cosmos, it was a weapon of creation, and humans were its spark. The void's memory whispered inside Lyra's mind. You are more. You are the spark they cannot consume. And for the first time in eons, the architects hesitated. The void had whispered of fear and loss. The architects had lived by perfection, erasing what they deemed flawed. But humans endured. Captain Lira Hensley felt the key's energy surge through her as the fleet faced the architect's massive spires. The Odyssey's hull shimmered with the sun's power, the resonance of living energy humming like a heartbeat through the ship. Formation Delta, Lira ordered, voice calm and commanding. Synchronize neural conduits. Every ship, every pilot, every human aboard, link with the key. We are the spark. Aaron Vale's fingers flew over the controls, sweat streaming down his face. The key is unstable. Its energy is responding to our emotions. Fear, doubt, everything amplifies it. But courage makes it lethal. Kale clenched his jaw. Then we have to show them courage they've never seen. Outside, the architects reacted. Spires folded into impossible shapes, black lightning arcing across voids that shouldn't exist. Their beams carved through light itself, aiming to erase everything in their path. Entire fleets vanished in moments, consumed by the architect's perfection. But humanity did not falter. The human fleet, guided by the key, surged forward like a living storm. Every human on board poured their defiance into the energy, creating a resonance that the architects could not comprehend. Every ship that remained became a prism of hope, every mind a conductor of unyielding will. The Odyssey led the charge. Lyra's voice rang across the neural network, not as commands but as emotion itself. Look at us. We are chaos. We are life. We are humanity. The architects faltered. For the first time, their ordered universe cracked. Beams misaligned, spires trembled, and a deep vibration echoed through the void of space, a sound no machine should have ever made. The sun's key pulsed, sending torrents of pure energy rippling outward, striking the spires and fracturing their forms. Humanity's courage became a tangible weapon, a force of creation rather than destruction. Aaron yelled, pointing at the main spire. Captain, that's the central core. If we can destabilize it, the rest will collapse. Lyra's eyes burned. Then we go there. Full speed. The Odyssey dove into the heart of the architect's formation, weaving between impossible angles, the ship's hull bending light around it to survive. The spire's defenses fired endlessly, beams slicing through void and time. Yet every attack was absorbed, redirected, and amplified by the key's energy. Inside the spire, Lira could feel the architect's presence, cold, calculating, infinite. They were not merely machines, they were thought itself, a collective of perfection that had never known doubt. You are insignificant. Their voice echoed through her mind. You are flawed. You cannot survive this universe. Lyra's breath caught, and yet in the chamber with her, Aaron and Kale's hands pressed against the conduits, their courage burning. Lira responded, mind to mind, heart to heart. We are human. We survive everything. We endure what you cannot even imagine. The architects paused. For the first time, they faced something beyond their understanding. Defiance driven by emotion, by hope, by the unquantifiable spark of life. The key pulsed brighter, flaring outward in waves that tore through the spire. The structure writhed as if in pain. its flawless geometry fracturing into impossible shards. Outside, the other spires faltered, black lightning snapping apart in chaos. Kale shouted over the neural link, "It's working!" "They're destabilizing!" Aaron's eyes were wide with awe. "The key. It's alive, but it's us. We are its will." Lira gritted her teeth, feeling every beat of humanity's courage through the conduit. "Then we finish this. All of us, together." The central spire collapsed, detonating in waves of folded light. Shockwaves rippled across space, fracturing the other spires. The architect's collective perfection shattered, and for the first time, silence fell across the cosmos, not empty but alive, trembling with possibility. The void's memory whispered inside Lyra's mind, faint now but clear. "You have done what I could not. You have endured. You have ignited hope where all else failed." The human fleet hovered among the remnants of the architect's spires, battered but unbroken. Lira looked out at the stars, returning slowly to their rightful places, and felt something no human had felt in eons. The universe was listening, and for the first time, she understood the void's warning in full. Warnings could be ignored, but defiance could rewrite destiny itself. Lira exhaled, a mixture of relief and determination. "Humanity has survived," she whispered, "and we will continue to endure." The key's energy receded, folding gently back into the sun. The void, freed from its ancient torment, shimmered faintly one last time, a silent guardian now watching. Knowing humanity had inherited the spark it once protected, the architects were gone. The universe was scarred, yes, but alive in humanity. Humanity had proven that even in the face of absolute annihilation, they were more than survival. They were creation itself, but it was no longer empty. It was alive. The stars returned slowly, each one blinking open like eyes awakening after centuries of sleep. The black spires of the architects were gone, scattered fragments dissolving into the void. Light spilled over worlds that had trembled under impossible weight, and amidst it all humanity hovered, battered yet unbowed, the key's energy receding like a tide returning to the ocean. Captain Lira Hensley stood on the Odyssey's bridge, looking out at the cosmos she had fought to preserve. Her reflection in the viewport was no longer ghostly. She could see the fire of determination that had guided her, that had guided all of humanity. Dr. Aaron Vale spoke softly from beside her, voice heavy with awe. "It's beautiful, and terrifying, and ours to live in." Kale nodded, silent for once, letting the enormity of survival sink in. "We survived them. We survived ourselves." Lira turned to the crew. Each face was weary, but in their eyes shone the same defiance that had carried them through every impossible moment. "Humanity was warned," she said, voice steady, ringing across the ship's neural network. "We were told not to provoke what we could not understand, and we nearly paid for it. But we endured. We faced the darkness. We fought not because we had to, but because we could, because that is what humans do." The void's echo, faint now but clear, filled her mind. "You have done what I could not. You have made them see what life truly is, fragile, fleeting, yet brilliant." Outside, the sun pulsed gently, the key's energy retreating into its heart. It was no longer a weapon. It was a promise, a pulse of creation that would endure long after the architect's designs had vanished. Humanity had unlocked something the universe had never seen, not just courage, but the ability to wield hope as a tangible force. Lira exhaled. "We've been given a second chance, and we will not waste it." Across the human fleet, ships hummed with life, systems alive and operational once more. Planets scarred by the architect's presence began to heal. Oceans rippled, winds stirred, and life whispered its resilience across the cosmos. Aaron smiled faintly, his voice trembling. "We've seen how fragile everything is, but we've also seen what it means to endure, what it means to fight for tomorrow." Kale placed a hand on the railing, eyes on the horizon. "They thought they could erase us. They thought perfection could destroy chaos, but they forgot something fundamental. Humans are chaos." Lira nodded, voice quiet but resolute. "And chaos is creation." The void shimmered one last time, a sphere of dim light hovering at the edge of perception. It did not speak, but its presence radiated gratitude, a silent acknowledgement of the spark humanity carried. The universe, scarred yet alive, had learned something too. It had seen what humans could endure, the defiance that burned in hearts that refused to bow, and the brilliance that even impossible odds could never extinguish. Lira turned to her crew, eyes blazing with pride and quiet wonder. "We are more than survival," she said. "We are proof. Proof that even when warned, when threatened, when faced with the impossible, humans endure, and we will continue to endure, across the stars, across time, across every universe that dares to exist." A gentle hum resonated through the Odyssey, through every ship, through every human soul linked by courage, by hope, by the spark of life itself. The Void's warning had been clear. Humanity had heard it, learned it, and turned it into something far greater than anyone or anything had anticipated. The stars shone, steady and infinite, like a chorus of light affirming the triumph of life. And humanity, small and fragile though it might be, moved forward, carrying the legacy of defiance, endurance, and the unbreakable will to exist, because the universe, in all its vastness, had learned one truth. Warnings may be ignored, dangers may be underestimated, and the impossible may be approached. But the human spirit, once awakened, could never be extinguished. And in that truth, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, marveling at what humans could do. Captain Lira Hensley exhaled, a smile finally touching her lips. "Let's go home." The fleet turned toward Earth, toward life, toward the future they had earned, and the stars, once threatened, blazed brighter than ever before.